Yeah. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the West Highland Neighborhood Association meeting. And our first speaker this evening is going to be Councilman Espinosa.
Sorry. Hi there. Sorry, I have a, whose notebook is this? Is this the church's?
Maybe.
Can
Do
I
you need
steal
it?
a piece of paper
Sure.
out of it? Thank you. Sorry guys, I have a piece of gum in my mouth and I don't want to talk anymore.
I need to make sure my little thing stays up.
Oh, thank you. That's what we're doing that for. Sorry about that. So, good evening. Sorry, I've been making a lot of headlines, and it's really unfortunate because it looks like politics at its sort of worst. I did write a letter in haste because yesterday we got an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, prior to our executive session today. And I felt like I might be handcuffed to a degree, the way people who signed agreements in the past with this city, and so I felt that it was sort of now or never to sort of make my statement, sort of reiterating what I believe was unequivocally sexual harassment in the case of Detective Leslie Branch Wise. And in that haste, I sent out a letter that did in fact have some inaccuracies, such as we didn't take direct official action on the 2016 settlement. David Broadwell was assisting the city attorney, but he was not the interim. That was both Crystal D. Herrera and Sean Sullivan. And so those are sort of tertiary to the matter. But anyway, that was a letter that I sent to the mayor. And it included all members of council, and that was simply it. And it did, by the time, and that was right before to the city council meeting. And at the conclusion of that, the reporter came to me, because last night, this is part of my news, the Slot Home Moratorium was passed by unanimous vote by city council. And the Denver Post reporter came to me, and I thought he was going to ask me a question about that, and instead he asked me, he pointed out one of the inaccuracies in the letter, and he said, but it's not a big deal, sort of thing. And I was just like, how the heck did you get it, And so that's me, learning politics. You share things with your colleagues, and if it looks like something that they can sort of use against you, suddenly you find yourself smack in the middle of the limelight, which was one that I chose to avoid during the successful bump stock legislation, but somehow wasn't able to avoid it in this situation. So that's enough on that. So anyway, Rafael Espinosa, Denver City Council, District 1. Most of you are familiar, but there are a few new faces here. First thing I wanted to update you about is we did in fact have that Denver Right meeting. If you were there, I'm sorry if it was confusing, because it was for me. If you understood it, let's go have a beer afterwards. I would love to understand what you know about it. That said, we did follow up with 2 days of meetings out at Willis Case. We spent well over 10 hours out at Willis Case over the course of those 2 days, and we did not go any period without constituent or constituents at our table talking to us. That said, what we've decided to focus on are two things: the map and the recommendations. So that big meeting that we had talked mostly about these sort of conditions of change, which are basically the justification for why we would allow changes in community, which is natural. We're a city, we're growing, we have to accommodate change somehow. But if you look at how we review these things going forward, we review them on how they compare to the map and how they compare to the recommendations. So let's just talk about change and how we justify things, and let's get focused on map and recommendations. So that's what we were doing there. So and don't worry about what you know or don't know about the map. If you have definite visions about your neighborhood, your block, the commercial areas that you go to, and what you think that should be in 20 and 40 years from now, just send them to me in your lay terms. because what we're going to do is we're going to activate those. We already started. We're going to change the map in a way that communicates that sort of collective vision. We will do another marathon couple of days, probably at Willis Case again, where we will show you how the map was and what we're proposing, because that will be our vision that we're putting forward for the next 20 years, while we then begin to talk about those recommendations that are coming forward as they're coming forward. And let's just work on that, because those are the sort of nuts and bolts. That's where rubber meets the road on these plans. So that's what we're doing there. I do have the recommendation portion. These are surveys on housing in Denver, quality of life and infrastructure in Denver, mobility and access in Denver, and design quality. There have been legitimate complaints about these forms, but these are the forms that Denver Right process has put forward. So I am going to put them somewhere where Trevor wants them for you to pick up. Please fill them out. So you don't have to get it all right now. Just take them home. If you've got a cell phone, snap a picture of it and email that to District 1, all written out, at denvergov.org. And we will get that over to CPD. Oh, sorry. But that, and go ahead and comment. If you like the question, great, answer it. If you hate the question, put that in there as well. So all comments about the future of Denver and those things, feel free to send them our way. The more we have, the merrier. And I have a lot of comments from the last 3 years, from the time I was running and now this. And so it is going to be a crazy busy next couple of months. Next month, and I won't be here in April. I'm going to be on vacation, much needed vacation with my wife to attend a wedding in Hawaii. So it'll be her first time. But Amanda will be here, and she's better than I am at all this public speaking anyway. But she will have the updated paving plan for this summer, which I haven't seen it yet, but we do know that what's supposed to be on there, 32nd Avenue, and that includes broken gutters and things. The biggest thing that I'm pushing for, and I have not gotten certainty, is we know we're going to do those crossing, the bulb outs at Perry and Tennyson. God, I keep urging them, and you've heard me here say it before, I hope we coordinate it so that those are built before we pave. So we're keep pushing on that front, and then 35th Avenue Bike Lane, we don't have an official date, but it is this spring, or Bike Boulevard is this spring. And another thing that I am working on right now was just announced, is a notification. I just presented it to INC last weekend or the weekend before, a notification for all 200-foot property owners on rezoning requests. So right now, the notification to property owners is just whether or not you see that posting when it goes up prior to any public hearing, or it's the RNO's responsibility to notify the neighbors. And that's great when you have a good functioning RNO that has a full mailing list, but we have some areas that don't have RNOs. And so this is a way to sort of let the property owners know at 2 points in the process, prior to planning board and prior to council. So the property owners have a notice. The reason why it's only 200 footers and only property owners is constitutionally and whatnot, but they're the ones that have legal standing if there's a protest effort to compel a supermajority of council. So while all the voices matter in a public hearing, there's a certain gravitas to the property owners legally. And so if my hope is if a property owner has a problem with or questions or challenges, that they would notify their renters or their leasees. And then the one thing, I have one ask. Another thing that I'm working on is I have met with a couple of neighbors in a very, very tiny, finite area of your area, don't panic, about potential overlay. Overlays can only be initiated by a council. So I'm working on what that might look like, and then be prepared. We will do door hangers and mailings, because it's such a tiny area, to notify of a public meeting, to start getting input on what the desirability of those changes or not. You may have heard we're doing, if you want to get a flavor of what that might look like in the long term, on March 22nd, we're doing a big overlay meeting in Berkeley Regis neighborhood. We're going to look at potential overlay over the entire area, but obviously it will get mapped to very defined areas, and that's the whole purpose of that meeting, is to get input on going, what solutions are appropriate for where, and that will define what we propose going forward. But that's an iterative process, and that's the first of probably at least 2, maybe 3 meetings, depending on how it goes. Then the last bit is on the 27th of March, the urban townhouse form, and you guys are blessed to not be impacted by it too much. The urban townhouse form, which was going to replace what we now do as slot homes, will go before the planning board. Even though CPD has gone out, it's got task force support, and CPD has hit all R&Os, including yours, I believe, on what those proposed changes are. They have not gotten a single letter from any planning and zoning committee in Northwest Denver for support. So I'm specifically asking you guys to consider whether or not you support those changes in the zoning code, and if you do, to communicate that to CPD, because they think they really need it. They spent 15 months on this thing, and I think they really would like to hear that it's welcome as changes. And that's it. That's a lot. Yes.
Yeah, as you know, I disagree with you on the
Perry. Yep.
and I think there are a lot of other things that meet our, like come look at our street between 32nd and 35th on Newton Street. It is, just a bunch of potholes the whole way. And, I think those are the sort of things that ought to be done first.
So that is true. So that area, well, no. What was the dividing line? Tennyson? Tennyson. So this area, to your point, that portion of West Highland from Tennyson to Irving or Federal, Tennyson to Federal, 32nd to 38th was supposed to get paved this year. Last spring and summer. The reason it didn't is because of the condition that 38th was, and so they had a choice: go deeper onto 38th or pave this area. So what they did, and it was with my input, we focused on 38th. And we put this area off till this summer. So not only is 32nd going to get paved, but all of West Highland as well. So this from that area, and that's a good thing, because what happened is they still had some money left, and so they went to the next place on the list, which was Sunnyside. And unfortunate, so that part of Sunnyside between Federal and Whna, 38th and a little north, and because they didn't have money to do a proper paving like they're going to do here, they chip sealed it. People aren't terribly happy with the chip seal because it's loose and crumbly, and there's problems with that. But their roads were in a condition that it was suitable. So yes, so you guys are, and we'll confirm that with the paving plan, but by all projections, this is the area. Sorry. So it shortens the travel distance when you're crossing. So rather than being on the existing curb and then having to walk across the parking lane and then the 2 travel lanes and then the parking lane to get to the next curb, the bulb outs move the curb side to the edge of the parking lane, and so then all you have to do is traverse the two travel lanes. The other benefit is, I think everyone sort of, and you included, sort of struggles with the fact that when with so much pedestrian activity and so many cars and everyone in a hurry, people come and get disrespectful all around. And part of that is frustration with the travel times. So the nice thing is by doing the bulb outs, not only are you making it sort of a little bit of refuge for the pedestrian to get closer to where they're trying to get to, but you also can shorten their travel time from curbside to curbside. Yes?
It also backs up traffic though, because cars cannot get around another car at these turns.
Yeah, but I mean, we used to have a trolley down that street, you know, and horses and you know, we're gonna have to. I think we just need to get used to just moving a little bit more chill and slower in the neighborhood. I think if we could just get over the fact that we have to be everywhere in a hurry, and that actually we live in a really cool part of Denver, and there's a lot of things to see, including people on the street. Hopefully we'll pay attention. I would like nothing more than for us to just be more pedestrian oriented, like Boulder, you know. And so that was part of those efforts that we're still doing with Public Works. Yes.
I'm thinking that on a busy intersection where you do the bulb out, if you made a no left turn, it would prevent that problem where there's one car waiting to turn and nobody can get around.
The problem is they're going to have to do a no left. I mean, a left somewhere. But I see your point on a busy street like 32nd. Okay. Yes. Sorry, did I miss? Oh, Cindy.
Speaking of turn lanes, is there ever going to be a left-hand turn signal at 26th and Federal? I thought that there was going to be, according to the quarter plan, they're going to put that in, and it hasn't happened yet. There is one at 23rd now, but that intersection is just impossible.
There isn't. Yeah, there isn't. We put one at 23rd, which is far
There
less.
is one at 23rd, and now there was supposed to be one put in at 26th and Federal, and just wondering what's going on there.
Okay. I'll ask, because you would think that would be somewhat of a priority with the fire station 12 there.
Yeah, Safeway, gas stations.
Okay. And that's going to get particularly weird because they are putting a light, and it's a proximity that I've never seen before at 26th and Elliott. So
That's for the CEC, that's for the student crossing.
yeah, and that was promised
But it hasn't gone
beginning of
yet.
this school year, and it's still not there. Yes, right.
Question on when Public Works paves the streets, why is it they don't leave the manhole covers up? Great. When they did 38th Avenue, they did come back and cut out a big area and make those flush.
Yeah.
Tennyson Street from 38th to 32nd a year and a half ago. The
Yeah.
streets crowned so much that one end of that manhole cover was
So
3 inches deep.
it
And they did 29th Avenue.
right. I get it. The manhole covers aren't raised.
Right, why don't they, what's the
Because not all the manhole covers are the city's domain. And so I'm having this conversation with them to coordinate again. Because if it's a small one, it could be Denver Water, it could be, actually it could be a number of other people that have right of way, I mean, utility easements under our streets. So the only the proper sort of wide ones are sort of ones that well, not even all of those. So only a portion of the big ones are Denver city things where city employees would be addressing them at the same time as they're paving. The other ones vary on which person who has access there. And quite frankly, it sounds like we're not doing a good job of coordinating our paving plan with those other service providers, be it Excel, Denver Water, or one of the telecom companies. And so fortunately, this came up to me just 2 weeks ago from one of Wayne News constituents at a HD4 meeting. And so both he and I are now actively looking at how we change that. There was two back here. And you cut me off when you want. So.
This group from the
Yeah. Yeah. So that was the great thing is we only had 4 RNOs to sort of do that level of outreach, but it was so thorough and so good that you know, we're working with a far less rough draft than what we had before. Now we're sort of getting into the areas that sort of don't have that level of sort of oversight. You know, Marilyn, you will hear from me, like you will see, because I'll be the ones that are sort of physically proposing changes, and you and I will, and everybody else in West Highland will get into debate, like, okay, I know you want no growth, but, you know, this is a sensible place, or not, and then you'll kick me out of office because I promote something that you don't want. That's okay, that's how it works. But that's why we want to keep it open. You'll never see me just do something and then all of a sudden you see it happen, which is what happened in 2010. Yeah. Yes. No, there is no minimum area for an overlay, and so you could do a block. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
I got one other one. This was actually the main thing I was going to ask about. What about this 80-story building that's being proposed downtown? What's going on with that?
So it sounds like nothing's going to happen. So it's definitely a possibility, and that's not the only one that was on the books, to be quite honest. But that property owner is sort of a notorious Denver property owner for letting developers sort of get so far and then pulling like Lucy and Charlie Brown taking the football away. And that's exactly what happened here. So that project, as far as I know, is DOA. Yeah. Yeah.
Wondering, because, you know, it's going to get, if they start building stuff like that again, like what's going on in the 80s.
Well, something that is almost, well, probably largely more impactful is you've probably seen the Central Platte Valley Plan, the Elitch property, the Pepsi Center parking lots. That draft is up for your guys' comments. That is something, a process that I was involved in for a little less than a year. It's a good version, you know, sort of downtown Denver 2.0, sort of taking aspects of the Lodo, aspects of downtown, and aspects of where we want to, how we might do it differently. And, but that is going to parlay into zoning requests that could appear as soon as the next 2 months, and then development within the next 18 months. And so, I don't know how fast the rest of it will take off. Depends on the market conditions. But phase 1 is planned for, you know where that road goes down to Elitch's off of Spear, a real steep drop off there, and the rail, there's this sort of gaping low spot where it's all parking lot. That's sort of the phase 1 is sort of this unused parking lot space. So that is definitely the future.
Did you forget me?
Uh-oh, it wasn't on my sheet. What did I do, Jacqueline?
I just had a question. Like when they're doing construction in our area, streets and stuff, okay, they leave those orange sandbags everywhere. How can we get them to come around? I mean, they're all over.
Even
when you,
after construction?
oh yeah, they're just still, you know, it's when they put up the signs,
Yeah.
they put those big signs in the sandbags, and they take down the signs, and our neighborhood is full of those orange sandbags.
So I would do 2 things.
Throw 'em
Standard
away?
operating procedure, no, because you're actually sort of violating some EPA stormwater permit rules. And then they could get fined. If you want to get a contractor in trouble, you could do that.
Yeah.
But then you're hurting your water quality. So I would say if you think it's an abandoned,
Right.
what's called a BMP, best management practice, I would say call 311, tell them you've got the storm inlet on the southwest corner of whatever intersection, and get that confirmation number and email us.
Okay.
That's the most, that helps, that's sort of how we can then collaborate, and then we will follow up with the right-of-way inspector, and he'll come out, not Logan, the other guy, and and basically confirm that there is no active construction site.
Right.
You know, and then they'll take care of it.
Yeah. Okay, one more question. Marie?
Actually, I just wanted to follow up to what I was thinking about. So with this downtown riverfront plan that some of us maybe read about in the newspapers, with that being so close to being an adopted plan and then zoning requests are going to start to come, if people want to have input, because my belief is you go to Denver, Board and look for community planning and development, which is CPD. And I think that on there is a presentation of the plan in PDF form, and there's an opportunity to either email back comments or take a survey. Do you know if that's correct? And I think you would probably also add, also email your office with those comments.
On the downtown area plan,
Yeah.
I would be surprised if they have a form, but maybe. I honestly didn't look.
Plan might be up on.
The plan is definitely there. The draft plan is definitely there. It's on that website, and we can send the link to Whna if you want.
Good.
Thank you all for your patience and great questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raphael. Thank you. Okay, next we have Enigma Bazaar. Come on up. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. So my name's Autumn. I'm representing a small group that has just purchased the building that Ziggy's Saloon was formerly in on 38th. I want to say thank you, Trevor, for getting us on the agenda, and even though we're a little out of like the purview, but it's nice to see some neighbors here. We just wanted to introduce ourselves and explain what we're going to do. We're currently revamping the space on 38th that Ziggy's used to be in, and starting a bar, restaurant, performance art venue. And so we just want to like introduce ourselves, make friends with other business owners and people in the neighborhood, and give you a little timeline of what's going on with the building and the rehab process, and open the floor for just like questions and concerns and anything that you might have in mind. So right now we're rehabbing the side of the building that Ziggy's was in, and just getting it up to code and getting it rehabbed and preserving like the historical value of the building and trying to keep it really unhurt and feeling better. And right now, Rico's Upholstery, that was on the left side of the building, is still going to be housed there because they're awesome. But our overarching view of what the business should be will involve a community space on one side and then the bar and restaurant on the other side, and open the opportunity for community space rental, workshops, and events, all being housed in like the realm of art and holistic nature and community. So we just wanted to introduce ourselves and see a little bit of what you guys are thinking about and get more of your questions. Parking, totally. That's our concern as well. So right now there's a few spots actually on the property that were a little bit encroached upon by some other stuff that was being housed there. And then there's a little bit of parking in the front, and we're trying to work through a few other options within the community to rent space for parking for people.
How many patrons do you expect on a typical Friday or Saturday night?
It's not a huge capacity, and we don't want to be just like a woo bar, like just trying to do like more community-centered things and mindful socializing. I think we were saying on a busy night, we're saying 75 max, something like that.
And where are they going to park?
So a lot of what we're anticipating, a lot of the going out culture in Denver is like sectioned around like Lyft and Uber, which is a lot of what we're doing now, and that takes away a lot of like the influx of parking and traffic jams and that sort of thing. We're also working with other local businesses to rent some area in their parking lots so that they can just go in a lot and not be in the neighborhoods.
Because right now, Ziggy's pretty much occupied the neighborhood.
Yeah, we're pretty aware of that. We want to make things better and just make it so that there's like territory where people can be safe and have their cars if they're driving, and make sure there's room for a Lyft or an Uber if they're not, and try to keep it out of the neighborhood.
but did you say restaurant also?
Yeah, we're experimenting with the idea of food and food that can tie into like our performances and art events. We're not looking right now at a full-on restaurant, but maybe like light fare that would go with some of what we're doing, and then maybe some daytime stuff like just light little bits and tea and that sort of thing during the day to offset the fact that it's bar night.
Anyone else?
Do you have a name for it yet?
Sorry,
No, go ahead.
Okay. So right now we're just looking at it as that one side and the bar and just evening operation, probably like 5 to a little after midnight. And then during the daytime, we're still figuring that out, what would be going on as far as like tea service or coffee or light food. But a lot of it is also event-based and not so much geared towards being a bar all the time, every day. Say that again? So right now, I was trying to explain that here, but I don't know if I'm articulating well. So as far as the bar portion encompassing that one side where Ziggy's was, we're looking at like a 5 p.m. to a little after midnight, but not all of the week, probably closed on Mondays. And then during the daytime, we're still experimenting with that, what that would look like as far as light fare and food and coffee.
Okay. I think, Adam, you have one more over here.
I have a suggestion that you have a joint G&A, the neighbor agreement with the Brown neighborhood, the West Highland neighborhood, and West 38th Avenue Coalition Group.
Definitely. I've reached out to a few other groups and haven't heard anything back yet, but we're just going to show up at their meetings anyway.
Okay. Anyone else?
If you want it. We're open to suggestions, and we want it to be not just like a bar that's like doing some curated everything all the time. We want like community to come in and tell us what you want and just work with us and let us know what's going on with your businesses and endeavors and make it happen.
Okay.
Well, I mean, Ziggy's was the oldest blues bar in Denver, so we would love to have that come back, I think.
Totally. We're open to it. We're really into music and theater and everything that you can create. We want it and want to make it immersive and done well and safe and welcoming for everyone.
Marilyn.
We're hoping for September as a soft opening and October for our grand opening. That's if everything goes according to plan.
Sheila, did you have a question?
Yeah, I hadn't heard that it's closed, so what happened? Are they moving somewhere else?
They closed on Halloween. We're not sure of their plans, but it's a really rich community, so. Really? Whereabouts in Arvada? Say it again? 64th? Cool.
Okay.
That's
Anyone
awesome.
else?
I have nothing particularly in mind, but it's a performance space, and I'm wondering if you'll have a good acoustic piano in there.
If you want it, we can. We're trying to keep everything open, and we're still getting to know what's going on inside the space after so many years of rebuilding inside and what we have space for. But we have a great sound guy that we're working with and a lot of ideas. So if you have an idea, just
Sound guys, my experience is that they often think of electronic piano.
no, we have a pretty analog sound, dude.
No offense.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Autumn, for
Thank
coming.
you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we have Amanda Stewart. She's the principal of Lake Middle School.
Good evening. My name's Amanda Stewart, and I just really wanted the opportunity to just introduce myself. I just got hired on as the new principal of Lake International on Sloan's Lake, and we are going to have a unique partnership next year with Skinner Middle School of really creating great neighborhood middle schools in the Northwest community. So I just wanted to share a little bit about myself. I've worked in Denver Public Schools for the last 9 years. I started as a teacher, then I was a dean of instruction and assistant principal, and currently I'm a principal resident. All of my experiences have been in the Montbello neighborhood, which is in the far northeast area of Denver, which is almost exactly the same populations as Lake Middle School, or the same demographic. And so what I'm really looking for is just to really help Lake become a great neighborhood school. And I'm here to do whatever it takes and to make good things happen for the neighborhood. I believe in like 3 core ideas or principles, which are model the behavior you want to see, connect with the people you lead, and then engage the community as much as possible. Our top 3 priorities are going to be, number 1, making Lake a safe place for kids to go to school. 2, making sure that we have rigorous academic practices consistently in all the classrooms. And then 3, really making Lake a school that the community is bought into, where there's voice from everyone in the community. So I just really wanted to introduce myself, get the word out there that we're trying to really bring some great things into Lake. So thank you for the opportunity. Please reach out. I'm really looking for like any partnerships within the neighborhood. And I'll be starting as like a planning year, April 2nd. There's currently an interim principal right now. And so I'll be in the building, so if you want to reach out, please reach out.
Did anyone have any questions? Cindy?
So Lake was an IB school. Are you still planning to keep that program?
Lake will not be an IB school next year.
And do you still have center placements over there?
Yes, we do.
Which ones?
There's a multi-intensive classroom, and then there's a multi-intensive autism classroom.
Okay, so those 2 stay?
Yep.
I've been reading on Nextdoor that there's been some bullying out on the street where the communities had to break up fights. Do you have any of that in your sights of how to help our community help you with that bullying situation?
Yeah, for sure. So I think next year there's a few changes, like Bell's schedule might change a bit, and with that's going to be coming some more after-school opportunities within the building. But I really think it starts like within the school, right? Like we are lacking some systems and structures that create a safe place for kids, and we're just lacking in student culture in general. So that is like my number 1 top priority. And I think with that, it means like really hiring highly qualified staff and retaining really highly qualified teachers that are already there doing good work. And so I think between all of us, like my time right now until next year is going to be planning to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Well, welcome and thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Jill Samuels of Nostalgic Homes.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to announce that we are going to be making 36 Easter baskets tomorrow night at Nostalgic Homes office. We're going to start at 7 o'clock. We've already had a few donations brought in, and it's for the Tennyson Center. We've got all different age groups, and we've already had, we spent, I think, more than $400 between shopping at the dollar store and getting the baskets and everything like that. So if you don't have anything to do tomorrow night, we would love to have you at 7. I did have an Easter basket to bring, but my husband switched cars on me. So if you do want to donate some money, if you have a few dollars lying around in your pocket, then I'll be sitting over here still taking notes. Does anybody have any questions about that? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Okay, committee updates. Design and preservation.
I'm Marilyn Quinn. I am on the Design and Preservation Committee, and I have a couple of quick items to report. First is the mapping success that I just mentioned. Thanks for your unanimous vote in December and any other contacts you made, because the what we thought were flaws in the map were all corrected. We will still keep monitoring them, and thanks so much to Ray, DFA, and the zoning committee for identifying the, raising the alarms on that, because some of them would have been pretty unfriendly. Next item is, you may have heard about a city council committee that's been appointed. It's called the Historic Preservation Ordinance Task Force, and 2 of our neighborhood are on the task force. Amy Cole, who is not here tonight, but sometimes is, and myself. So our charge, as we understand it from the first meeting, which was last week, is to attend and have input into this kind of far-reaching effort that will look at policies, at the ordinance itself, at practices and expectations and everything. So we'll be looking for, we are encouraged to get input from our constituencies, and in Amy's case and mine, that is our community members and other people who are interested in preservation throughout Denver, as far as we can reach out to them. So that group is going to meet on the second Tuesdays of every month from now to December. This group meets on the first Tuesday, so we'll kind of always be keeping you informed of how it's moving along. But just know that if you have any issues, please let me know, and I can give you my email. In fact, I'll just give it to you. It's rigaq182@comcast.net. And since this is being recorded, you can find me. So we are interested in hearing problems or expectations that you'd like to raise. Then we will be sending a letter to Rafael Espinoza, our councilman, about a house at 3465 West 31st. This is a house that's been really neglected for many years, and I think probably a year or 2 ago, the Health and Social Services people took the tenant, the woman who owns the house, out because she just was not able to function, I guess. So there is a problem with, the house has a hole in the roof. So we're concerned about it because it's a contributing house in the Ghost Historic District. There's some possibility that Health and Social Services could demolish the house, even though there's nobody at risk now for it. So we'll be trying to straighten that out because the 2 ordinances seem to walk on each other. And we want to be sure that the house, which is solid except for that hole, could be rehabbed and could be a nice little fix-up. It would take somebody with some vision. But it's a solid enough house that would be worth it. And the last item is we continue to do pretty brisk business. We have, on average, I would say 1 property owner a month coming in to get design guidance voluntarily or design review if they're in historic districts. So that's anything. Any questions, Sheila? It absolutely would. I would encourage everybody to do what Raphael suggested, is go send an email to CPD saying you did a great job on the urban townhome, is that what they're calling it? Instead of the slot homes. It's the slot home redo, because they really did a very nice job. The same fellow who facilitated that process, which took about 1.5 years, is facilitating the ordinance, the historic preservation ordinance review. So he's pretty good.
Yeah, you can, it sounds like Sheila, you want to propose a motion for a vote, and that's fine.
weren't they here last month or the month
Yeah.
before?
Yes.
We did have a presentation 2 months ago.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
Marilyn, will you repeat the motion in the microphone?
Sure. There's a motion on the floor that the Whna board send a letter to the CPD, Community Design and Planning, thanks, and to Representative Raphael, Councilman Raphael, and the 2 at-large representatives as well, thanking them for their work and telling them we support the zoning amendment, right? Is it? The
Actually have the verbiage in here.
We've got some verbiage. Text amendment, thank you, zoning text amendment.
Text amendment.
If anyone wants to see the presentation, I believe tomorrow night the Sloan Lake Citizens Group, CPD's giving the presentation.
Is that, no,
Same
Thursday.
presentation we saw.
Wednesday.
Sloan's Lake. Next Wednesday? Okay, next Wednesday you can see the...
Tomorrow night.
Oh,
Tomorrow night.
next Wednesday is tomorrow night, isn't it? So tomorrow night, head over to Sloan's Lake and take a look at that. But to...
Long, narrow buildings that you see them on the and they don't have entrance on the street. Their only entrances are on the side. The city's trying to get away from those. Trying to force it to those putting it on the street.
And so, for the microphone, that slot home design was never anticipated in the 2010 zoning, but they squished together something that was intended, and it resulted in some pretty unfriendly facades, and so that's what caused this slot home strategy to be pursued. So, the proposal is to send a letter from Whna to our councilman and the 2 at-large council people, as well as CPD, congratulating CPD on, or thanking them for their efforts and supporting the work that will be in the proposed text amendment this month. And so we've had a motion and a second, and this isn't my job. Yeah, discussion?
And this is for voting members.
Ah, yes, a few members.
I didn't hand out cards, but if you're a paid member, you have the right to vote, but those that don't, we ask that you don't raise your hand. With that, so.
All in favor, please raise your hand. And say aye. And opposed?
Wait, we gotta
Oops,
count.
oh,
Gotta get
Okay, oh, okay.
all those opposed?
None. Abstaining? One.
Okay, so 18, 4, and 1.
One abstain, 18 for, 1 abstaining. The motion passes, and the letter will be drafted up by someone. Will. Oh, you know. I'll just take this with me.
Your to-do list.
Tomorrow morning, it'll go straight out. Okay, great. Okay, so any other questions of the Design and Preservation Committee? There's one.
Sorry. I'm going to pass around my iPad. That's sort of risky, but not so much. It's your property anyway. But if you're curious, this is a little matrix that shows all of the different zone districts and situations in which a slot home can be built, so that you can see. It was a much more complicated problem than you could imagine, because there's so many different ways to get into this. And so for your reference. So everywhere there's a dot is a condition in which you could figure out a way to do a slot home. Sorry.
I thought you'd gone.
Okay. Thank you, Marilyn. Okay, so, no liquor news. Social committee, we do not have a social committee right now. So we are looking for volunteers for the social committee. And some of the things you would do is organize like the summer socials that we have at different bars and restaurants. If that's something that interests you in being social and organizing those type of events, then please let us know. Nothing from the transportation committee, zoning. Okay, right? Thank you.
Okay, a couple things. There's two rezonings. They're going to be happening. They're going to submit their applications. They're going to the city for their pre-application reviews. One's at 29th and Lowell, where the old filling station is. And that guy, he's been meeting with us for probably the last 5 months, the zoning committee and the design and preservation committee, and he plans on rezoning it to MX2X and putting in a two-story commercial building. Originally, he was going to do 6 apartments upstairs and retail on the bottom. He's now switched it to office space and retail. He reduced the square footage of the building, and we went back and forth with, I think, 4 renderings. And he finally came back with a wonderful all brick building that's going to blend into the neighborhood. And then another rezoning that's in the hopper is at 29th and Yates at Arnold's Transmission, almost to Sheridan on the north side. They have to rezone that because it's a PUD right now. So they're asking for MX3.
Explain what that is.
Mixed use, 3 stories. The neighborhood's suggesting it be a MX2X with further restrictions on it. We'll see where that goes. That's just happened. And I mentioned before at the meeting about the cell towers that are popping up everywhere. The newest ones are going to be coming up Spear. I know one's going in front of North High, and I think the parking lot of the Metro store, and then as you go up Irving at 33rd and Irving, there's going to be one on the east side of Irving, on the south side of 33rd. There's a little bit of a public right-of-way in front of the dentist's office, and their plan shows putting it right in front of their door, basically. So when that one arrives, you can see what they look like. They're 30 feet tall. They've got an electrical meter on them, a bunch of padlocks for access. But Verizon's putting them everywhere. They're putting 4G and 5G in. One of them has to, I think, see each other, so they're going to be pretty close. But all the cell companies can start doing that. Yeah, that guy, he wants it removed because it's in front of their condominium or townhouse building. Cell tower.
Cell towers.
Might be the one that was in the newspaper today.
I hope Whna is successful. To be honest, we paved the way probably 2 years ago for this without a presentation that went through on consent. And we've asked twice for them to bring this back to committee because no one sort of quite understood what we were staring at. But it's sort of like garden court and slot homes. Until it finally happens in their area, do they not put it all together? And so, yes. So given the franchisees that the city works with are internet providers and cell phone providers, considerable latitude to do this without any recourse for change. So it's going to be a tough road. I hope that your support for Whna particularly, but we'll be supporting him as well, is important. But I honestly don't know. Until they're coming before Whna committee, until they present, we won't really know what we can do. Why it's particularly frustrating is what's going on in Jefferson Park right now, in Grove, that area, is actually a different technology than even what Wayne's dealing with. It's more advanced technology. It's a pilot of 5G through Verizon. And because the 5G signal it degrades so quickly, we're getting these things within 2 blocks of each other in line of sight. And that is not the case for AT&T's system, which attaches to existing power lines, not even power poles. But that is a whole conversation that I've had separately and not amongst committee and council. So I think when we bring them to the city council committee in the next, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, we'll finally have that discussion that's about a year overdue. So that's a long way of saying nothing, what the status quo is the only thing that we can count on. Changing it is going to be work. Not impossible, but it's going to be work.
So, okay, we have our cell phones, we've had our cell phones for a while, we're noticing it. We keep dropping calls in our home and they don't work really very well unless you go outside like this. Is it because these buildings are so tall and they're blocking the cell reception? Is that, I mean, I'm not a cell tower person.
Well,
I just these tall slot homes and big buildings going up around us because I'm down by 26.
Well, that could be, because right now they have those great big posts with a whole bunch of different cell towers on them. Well, like they put one on Tennyson right north of 38th about a year and a half ago. And now they built that apartment building, and if you look at that tower, you look out your window, and it's 6 feet from your window. So that possibly could block people north of there.
See,
but people.
We're wondering if these slot homes on 29th and all the building that's going on.
Yeah, I think it's more a matter of congestion.
Is it?
More users on the same network and the same infrastructure. That is certainly what's happened in my neck of the woods in Jefferson Park. It's just got split, the precinct, because the population increased.
Okay.
It took one area and split it into 2 by law. And so all those same users on the same networks are being taxed. Yeah.
Okay.
So Verizon's the first one that's putting these towers everywhere, but everybody else is liable to follow. So instead of one tower, everybody might have towers. And they're not pushing them like towards the alley in the right of way. They're putting them in the front setback area. So it could become a real issue because Verizon's got a pretty accelerated plan and list.
Okay. Anyone else?
One
Thank
more
you,
thing.
Ray.
One more thing. If anybody has the mapping that Marilyn talked about that we worked on in December, and then this meeting a couple of weeks ago, if anybody has interest in working on that in West Highlands or 38th Avenue, let me know. So we're going to meet and kind of discuss it.
Okay. Thank you, Ray. Okay, so now it's time for open floor for non-agenda items. And I believe Cindy wanted to speak?
Keep it quick.
Okay, thank you.
I know we're over time, so my name is Cindy Snalem, and I live at between Grove and Hooker on West 25th Avenue. So I live close to Federal Boulevard, and about 10 years ago, I was asked to be part of the Federal Boulevard Partnership, and I'm still on the board now,
And we, on the Federal Boulevard Partnership, kind of oversee Federal Boulevard. And I know most people have a strong opinion on Federal Boulevard, positive or negative, but probably mostly negative. And we have been working with the city over the past about 12 years now in looking at ways to improve Federal. And of course, the city has a lot to say about that. But we have a lot of issues right now that are still coming up in the next year or two. And right now, our board is down to 5 people. We were about 12 people, and we've had people move, and then they've dropped off for whatever reason over the years. And it's been a very strong board, and we've been very successful at helping Federal improve. And there's been a lot of issues that I won't go into now. But what I'm asking is, if you live near Federal, if you're interested in becoming a board member, or you know someone who may not be here tonight but would like to be a board member, you can, I guess Jackie would be the person to let her know, and then she can let me know, because we would like to revamp our board, and we meet once a month at the Mile High Stadium. We're meeting Thursday at 4:30. And it's not a long meeting. It's about an hour, a little hour and a half. But we're a strong board, and we get along well, and we want to bring some more people into the board and have discussions and get your input. And you know, this is a different part of the boulevard between 29th and 38th is West Highlands. So we would like a new board member from your neighborhood. Linda McIntyre used to represent your neighborhood for many years, but she has not been part of our board now for about 3 years, I think. So that's it. And my name again is Cindy Snalem, and Jackie can get in touch with me if you can let her know of anybody, or maybe Pat or Ray also. Okay. All right.
Thank you for coming, Cindy. Thank you. Okay, anyone else for open floor?
I'm Pat DeFay, and I'm a member of the Highlands United Methodist Church, and I just wanted to reinforce the fact that this last Sunday they dedicated, or we had the grand opening for the garage. So we're at 32nd and Osceola, and there is an old, their parking lot is to the east. They're on that corner. And there's a building that had always been storage and that, but monies were put into it, and it's now a community center. So if you need a space for a meeting, or gonna have a birthday party, or some sort of function, there are plenty of chairs there, and I think probably they're leasing it out. I'm not positive on that. But so we're inviting everybody to come and check out the garage. Thank you. Yes. Oh, and I forgot. The outside of the building is going to have this cool mural done. And I'm pretty sure it's been approved with the city, because you have to do that on murals. But an artist is going to draw the lines, and they're looking to invite the community to come help paint within the boundaries of the lines to form the graphics that are going to be on the outside. So be looking for that. I'm sure we'll announce it on Nextdoor. Pastor Brad's really good at Facebook and all that good stuff, so be looking for that. That'll be fun. Yes?
Do you need paint donated?
It depends on what color. That's right. That's right.
So if you need some paint donated, he has some that
Okay.
he paints, and then they have extra gallons of paint.
Great, Veronica, I will let them know about that. Okay, thank you.
Would you like to come up? welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Serena Gonzalez Gutierrez, and I actually grew up in this actual neighborhood and worked at several of the businesses over on 32nd. I worked for Perfect Pedal. I worked for Subway Latino when it used to be here. And now I'm actually in this neighborhood, and I'm running for state representative for House District 4, the community we all live in. And so I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm not going to sit here and do a whole speech, but I'm happy to speak with any of you individually, and I'm happy to come back maybe perhaps another time and ask to be on the agenda, absolutely. But just wanted to let you know that I'm here and introduce myself. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any more open items? Oh, come on up, Jen.
Sorry.
No. No, Ian.
Me.
Ian.
Hi, my name's Ian, and I'm a property owner in West Highlands. I own the property at the corner of 30th and Yates, and I purchased that property in 2006. It's a large property. It's a 4-unit building, and then there's vacant land that's directly to the west of the building. And I've been working with Ray, and I met with Paul and Joan, and it's amazing that you guys got through slot homes in 15 months, because I've been working for 15 months to draw a line on a survey and get the city to look at it. So where I am now is effectively, I need to do something with the property, and what the city would have me do is basically bulldoze it and put in 4 row homes, and what I would like to do is actually split the land and build a single family residence. So effectively, I'm going in front of the Board of Adjustments. It should post, it's supposed to take 3 weeks. It's now been 3 months, but the city tells me they're going to basically reject my application. And the reason they're going to reject it is because we were grandfathered in when they did the rezoning, so you cannot amend the lot lines on a multifamily dwelling. And then, without getting into the specifics, the lot is actually, it's 50 feet wide and 5,000 square feet, where USUC requires 50 feet and 5,500 square feet. So I need some variances to basically make it work. But